What a bullet! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently, and all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. It's Rory now. On the outside, decent.
Barnes! He's got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly. Finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper!
Burnley won it to the end! That is magnificent! They deserve that!
On it by Paul Patella. Off for a hat-trick.
He's got it! Hat-trick for Nathan Teller! Oh, he's on fire at the minute! 3-0 Burnley! It's Nathan Teller's day! And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby!
Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. Top shot.
Oh, the goal! Manuel Benson once more! That is top class! Burnley have done it! Fantastic! Clarence deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everybody and welcome along to the latest episode of the Turfcast podcast. Full-time show with me, Joe Redmond, after Burnley's impressive 1-1 draw at Old Trafford in a game that we probably could have won and probably should have won and definitely had the chances to win. A couple for Foster. The one-on-one is the one that stands out the most. The other one was good work from him and a good save. Like the one-on-one probably should have been put in the back of the net. But as you can see, I've got the full lads with me. We will get into the details of the show and the game later on. But I've got all of the lads with me. I've got Sam and Neil, who have both been on holiday for about 6 months. And I've got an ever-present in Mr. Liam Warrington. How are we all doing, lads?
Not bad. Not bad. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, mate. All the better for seeing you now, mate. And as GST says there, OMG, it's Sam and Layfield, they're alive. Yeah, we've all been concerned. We've all just been... I've tried to tell everybody that you're both just busy men, but everyone's just been worried that you're half dead.
It's not what I've heard, mate. I've heard that there was threats of P45s and everything.
that may have been the case as well, yes. That may have been the case. Thank you for listening, Neil. I do appreciate that.
But yeah, always watching.
Hope you are good. Some more comments coming in. M. Mike says, bloody hell, is that actually Sam and Neil or are they body doubles? Yes.
AI.
It really is. It really is. Yeah, it's AI. That is a thing now, isn't it? That is a thing now. That is a thing
comment
now.
there. Not having that.
Which one?
Welcome back from the retirement home, Neil and Sam. Beg your pardon.
Maybe just Neil on that one. Maybe just Neil on that one. But Neil, to be fair, and Sam, I know you've got a new job and you've been busy in that. But Neil, you've been you're a new father now, aren't you? So you've been struggling on Sunday nights to get the little one down.
9 months. I wouldn't say I was new now, but
newish.
Yeah, newish. Yeah. In her own room now, so it's just been a pain in the arse with her. Yeah. And the missus,
I remember that.
12 months Skype, so
that's what I call it as well, mate. That's what I call it. But I just want to say that we are streaming tonight on Facebook as well as YouTube for the first time in about 2 years. I started streaming on Facebook. That's where I started from. But then I realised the money was better on YouTube, so I want to build my YouTube up. And now I've realised that Facebook's good again with it as well. So we're trying that out. But thank you to
Nathan. We
don't
do it for the money though, mate. We
don't do it for the money at all. I just thought if I'm doing it, I might as well get some money for it as well. But our first ever comment on Facebook, well, not ever, first for 2 years, from Nathan Smith. He says, evening, guys. Evening, Nathan, and thank you for your comment on Facebook. But yeah, we'll get into the game soon. Keep your comments coming in. I'll read them all out in a second. But obviously, first, I just want to remind you all that the Turfcast podcast full-time show is officially sponsored by Wave Car Finance. Wave Car Finance are a local car finance company who specialise in getting you your dream car through their fantastic one-to-one personalised service. Their finance-first approach ensures that you can secure the very best finance in a deal tailored to suit you, and they can even settle any existing finance agreement and swap your current car into a new one. And to celebrate this brilliant new partnership between Wave Car Finance and Turfcast, if you mention Turfcast podcast to them, They will give you a voucher worth up to £200 to spend at the Burnley FC Club Shop on completion of your finance deal. So why not pop down to their stunning showroom in Whalley, or give them a call, or even send them an email, or message them on social media to start your new car adventure today. And don't forget to mention Turfcast, because when you do, you basically get £200 worth of Burnley FC merchandise for free. So yes, please make sure you do that. Keep your comments coming in anyway. Stephen Lawmass says, evening boys, finally got on here live after a long season of recordings. Well, mate, I hope it's worth it, not just a massive disappointment. George Rodriguez says, Joe, how are you today? And the rest of the crew, of course. David Gill says, good evening all. Results have gone well for us. They have, to be fair, mate. Obviously, City losing today, which, to be fair, we expected, but they laboured to it. That was, the only problem with that. I was panicking a little bit when it was only 1-0. M. Max says, same lineup, I would say, and same again. Only difference being able to stick the ball in the back of the shed. Yeah, Aaron Wright says, choo-choo. Burnley season 30 says the delusion train is up and running. It well and truly is. Oliver Briggs says, good evening, guys. Hey, Big Sam rant is incoming. He's got nothing to rant about anymore, mate. It'll be a positivity rant.
Just happy.
He's just happy. Might actually start seeing him using his Twitter account again now, the Clarets Roundup one. Now we're doing well again. Andy Benny says, evening, guys. Good to see the Turfcast team back to full fitness. Yeah, exactly that, mate. It's been, we've been injured. A few of the lads have been injured for a while, but we're coming through it now. Yeah, there was a comment earlier on about something being wrong with Taylor. But Lord Third Hawkins says, nothing wrong with Taylor. Probs dropped because he knew he's too slow against Anthony potentially. Ginger Alley's in the house. He's just greeting someone by. Well, have you moved, mate? Are you on holiday? I don't ever remember you being from there. It says, we are due a win against Newcastle. We are, and I think we can get one, but we'll get into that. Andy Bennett says, your Turfcast team selection is as secretive as Vinny's. To be fair, I did tweet it saying we have a full house here about 15 minutes ago, because I didn't want to tweet it too early in case somebody dropped out. John Angus fan says, full house, woohoo. George Rodriguez, obviously talking about Sam, he says he can rant about the Jets after the draft. We'll get into that later, or we probably won't, to be fair. And Martin McKevitt says, hi guys, happy Sunday evening. And Adrian Brown says, Goldbridge crying. Yes, we will get onto that. But first of all, now we've done all the sponsors, the comments, the introductions, let's talk about the actual football match, shall we? So Manchester United won, Burnley won. Sam, I'll start with you. How do you feel that game went? I presume you're happy with the result and happy with the performance?
Yeah, absolutely. Good performance. Result does us some justice, keeps us in it. It's not over after that game. I think the only disappointing thing that you'd say is that we weren't 2-3-0 up at half time. We absolutely bossed that game. It was just that cutting edge, isn't it? That we were, if we had clinical players in those positions, we could have been out of sight. Going into half time, team talks are very different. I think all the penalty shouts, you could probably have a case for one of them, but even then, it's like a half-assed one, isn't it? It's like could it be? I don't really think so. I just think they got outplayed. I think with finally baring his teeth in games and really going at teams. Really good to see. Really good to see. So yeah, still in with a shout, which is mad to say, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, I think someone tweeted earlier we were 11 points adrift in March. Now, yes, Forrester's points deduction has helped with that, but even with that, what did they get? -4. So even with that, we've clawed back a lot of points. We've done very, very well over the last few weeks. Obviously, 8 games now, just the 1 defeat, just the 2 wins, though, which is the other side of it, but obviously a lot harder to beat now. That was the problem at the start of the season, wasn't it? We were too easy to break down, too easy to score against. We were getting battered every single week. Now the problem's at the other end. Now we've shored it up. We can't put the ball in the back of the net, even though we're creating chances. But yeah, Neil, your thoughts on the match as well, please, mate. Man United won, Burnley won. Good point, good performance, weren't it?
Yeah, very. And it was a good time to play them as well, because they're sort of like their season just petered out, hasn't it, really? So, yeah, it's a good time to play them. Although you do fear it's not going to be your day when Anthony scores against you. But thankfully, we managed to get that point. Yeah, very good performance, I thought. Yeah, looked the part. Unlucky to come away with a draw. For Muric, probably kept Burnley in it the first half a little bit. And then second half, they bossed it, I thought. So, yeah, positive performance, good performance to go away. It's just a shame it's come at this stage of the season. I think you might have said it in your fan reaction that if we'd have got a draw at Old Trafford earlier in the year, so like when we played them at Turf, if that was switched and we got a point there, it would probably have set us up for a bit of a better season. But it looks like, for me, for the last couple of games, we look like we actually belong in this league now, which we didn't at the start of the season. And I think, unfortunately, it's just going to be a case where we run out of games, which we all thought might happen. But that performance yesterday was one of a team that does belong in this division, finally, for me.
Yeah, and it's not just yesterday's performance, is it, as well? It is the last 8
it's just
like the Everton one.
Yeah, it's like, without getting a win, we are sort of like, it's almost like we're building up to this peak. Like, that maybe the last day of the season, who knows, we might do it. But we just need that win. We're not going to do it by draws. We just need that win. And it might come. But I'm just confused because couldn't it all be sorted on the last day, but then we still don't know because it depends on Forest and...
They've said now that they will make sure it's done before then. Whether you trust the Premier League or not, that's a different debate. Apparently, you would think so.
Because I'm thinking like if Burnley could do all this work and then think we've stayed up on the last game and then 2 weeks later get it took off them.
You can't change the league table. That's just, there's too many implications financially and things like that. There's no way that you could finish a season and then 2 weeks later add 4 more points back.
No, so if they got another points deduction, it'd be next year, wouldn't it? It'd be next year or something like that.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, so it is building up, but we just need that win. From a personal
we need
point
to turn
of
them
view,
into wins, don't we?
I really hope it comes next week from a personal point of view because I live in the North East and I can't stand them. So let's just do that. Shut them up a little bit. Tough though, because they're just getting players back now. But hopefully this good form continues.
It's big that it's at home as well.
As Burnley Guru says, Newcastle have lost 10 times away this season. Newcastle are the team they were last season. They've not been as good this season as they were last season, and they can be got at. Again, I know Sheffield United did the same as what they did at Old Trafford, essentially. Took the game to them, then got battered, but they still went 1-0 up. And if Sheffield United can get at them, I do feel like we can get at them. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll talk about them sort of upcoming games and what we think later in the show. Liam, hope you're well, mate. Good to have you on as usual. Your thoughts on the game, please, buddy. You summed it up very well in your fan reaction. Thank you again for sending them in. If you do want to watch Liam's fan reaction and the rest of the lads, when I say rest of the lads, I mean me and Andrew, then you can watch them now over on our YouTube channel. But Liam, you summed it up pretty well. Good performance, good result, weren't it?
Yeah, really proud of the boys. Just to check as well, I am uploading a video, so is my voice okay? No,
it's okay. Camera could be better, but voice is fine, so that'll do, mate. I thought you were doing that.
It'll be fine in 4 minutes' time. I'm just uploading today's video. But really good performance, and again, one that we can really come out of thinking that we really should have got 3 points, and to go to Old Trafford and to get that feeling of what if, like we have at so many games, even in recent games, that we really should have got all 3 points. It's just a real shame because we are now coming together at the right time. What Vincent Kompany said earlier in the season, he promised that we will get better, we will learn from our mistakes, we will adapt to the league, and it is happening. And that's the most positive thing about all of this, that in my mind, I mean, we could all be happy, we could all have hope and be deluded, but no matter what happens, at the end of the season, if we still do go down, at least we've got some hope and we got some good momentum and some good connections to the players that we didn't have a couple of weeks ago. And it's a massive difference to what it used to be. So no matter what happens now, we can hold our heads up high and we actually had a bit of fight. And I just love to see even those like little players that people have thrown to the side, like I'm doing it, get that moment away at Old Trafford. I'm really happy for him. So a great day all around.
That was a great pen as well, that, by the way. Took it really well.
So I was surprised at how cool and calm it was. I thought he might have just smashed it, but I
couldn't watch
slow
it.
run, a bit of a dance.
I was right there, just with my head up against the box of green jelly tots I've got over there. I couldn't watch it. I couldn't bear it. And it's going to be like that for the rest of the season now.
Yeah, I agree. You texted us earlier as well, didn't you? Saying that's the last one of the heart attacks out the way with the Forest game. Now there's 8 left. It's gonna be tense, but it's not just the Burnley games that are going to be tense, like you say. It's going to be the Forest games and the Luton games, especially when Sheffield United play Forest, because I am a little bit worried about that one. I do feel like they could get some points on that one, but again, like I said, we'll discuss that later in the show. Keep your comments coming in. Oliver Briggs said, summed it up well there, Viz. Joanne the Great says, Coley Osho back for Newcastle game. I don't know now, mate. Dale Husband said, our defence didn't put a foot wrong yesterday. They were class. Dora and Maxim Esteve were class. Flyover Fred says, all right, mate. Ginger Ali says, I can see Chris Wood sending us down on the last day of the season. And that sums up Ginger Ali right there, everybody. If you watched him today... Go on.
Earlier. No
I'm going to say, if you watched him today, then he probably won't be scoring any goals against us. But he's good in the air, isn't it? He's good in there. There's a Forest fan in the chat, and he says, a Forest fan here, Nottingham Forest should hear about their appeal this week. Everton's appeal is this week. I forgot about Everton. But obviously they're miles away now anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I have heard that. Peter Drury said that actually today when I was watching Forest. He said... we should find out more about this week. So fingers crossed. Dale Husband in the chat says, if we take it to the last game again, I'll have flashbacks to Newcastle and won't be able to watch. Thing is, I thought about that earlier, but I'm thinking, let's have flashbacks, if you're old enough, to 1997 when it was us or Plymouth on the last day of the season, because that'll be more relatable, because it'll be us or Forest. So if it's us or Forest, it's the same as 97 when it was us or Plymouth, and of course we won that one. So fingers crossed we can channel our inner Andy Cooks if it comes to that. But let's let it get to that first, because we're going to need 3 points at home to Newcastle, I think, because I do think Forest beat Sheffield United, and if they play like they did today, they could beat Chelsea as well. But we'll see. Fingers crossed they don't. Right, some controversial decisions, or were there, in the game? I will start off with... They weren't really, but we're going to talk about them anyway. We'll start off with the Burnley penalty. Anyone have an issue with that? I think it's the most blatant penalty in the world, isn't it? It's an absolute stonewall.
I love that guy because he's mental, right? But what is he doing? What is he doing?
I saw worse. I saw better attempts of trying to get a ball at WrestleMania a couple of weeks ago. Like, that is absolutely the most stonewall penalty I've ever seen in my life.
It is, isn't it? And the only reason why I can understand Man United fans and Wolves fans will be pissed off about this is it happened at the start of the season. I think it was the first game of the season, weren't it? When Onana clattered into a Wolves player and they didn't get a penalty. But that was incorrectly not given as a penalty.
And they came out. And they came out and said that as well. Like, you know what I mean? They came out and said that. So if you didn't give it, everybody had just gone back to that moment.
Yeah, Jojo
the funniest thing about that is that
go on, Neil.
It still went to VAR. It's ridiculous. It's the most blatant thing ever.
The referees just hide behind VAR these days, mate, don't they? It's becoming more and more apparent.
I was on about this earlier, actually, with me father. Like, it's got to the point now where VAR is actually just reffing again.
It is honestly. You could get rid of referees because you're just using it.
They're just there.
The referee's just stupid.
Yeah, they're just there as a voice for VAR. It's ridiculous, but anyway, let's not do that. Let's not get into that. We've done that.
Yeah, do you remember when a few years ago, I can't remember who it was, but someone clattered into Mate Vidra, and that should have been a penalty, and it weren't. So it's about time we got one of these. But yeah, I think everybody thinks it's a penalty. Everyone on the panel thinks it's a penalty. M. Mac says, lucky he's not an ABH charges, to be honest, 100% a pen. Mark Galbridge only does it for content. He's not that delusional. I never mentioned his name, mate. Oliver Briggs says, didn't realise UFC was being held at Old Trafford now. Yeah, it is such a penalty. And I can't believe some people were annoyed about it. But seeing as somebody else mentioned him, to be fair, Mark Galbridge did say that was a penalty. But he was crying about a lot of other stuff that were ridiculous and shouldn't have been crying about.
I said it in the chat earlier. Goldbridge has to do something to get his views right because the United fans don't like him. So he's going to have to diversify because there's probably a chance his channel's going to get shut down because they just hate him. And he's always going to be Mark Goldbridge,
some
isn't he?
drama, some beef on Turfcast and Mark Goldbridge.
Oh, well,
no way he's ever going to see it.
That's it now.
No. But he's always going to be Goldbridge, isn't he? So he can't do anything else. So he's got to come out with some crap to keep the content going. So
I do agree with you. I do think he just loves to
ball
everything. But with nearly 2 million subs, I don't think there's any worry of him ever. Go on, Neil. Sorry, Sam.
When it comes to these penalties, though, all the ones that he's looked at, I found it embarrassing from his perspective that he couldn't, he's gone all in on all of these decisions that are
especially them 2 dives,
so blatantly biased. But yet he's had a go at Match of the Day for talking about the football being played. So Match of the Day have clearly looked at it and gone, do you know what? Rather than talking about the referees for once, we're just going to talk about the fact that Burnley absolutely played Man United off the park. And we're going to say they probably should have got 3 points. They've done really, really well. They've had a lot more shots, better shots. And all he wants to talk about is these half-assed calls of penalties that, you could look at half of them like that. The handball, right? So many United fans online are like, oh, but it's hit his hand. Mate, he's 2 yards away from him and his arm's by his side. If you go by the 2 variables in handballs that are given in the Premier League, that's the most blatant not handball ever. The coming together with legs. Sander Berge wins the ball. So he wins the ball. So, all right, he might accidentally clip his ankle on way past. Doesn't matter if he got the ball first. So it means nothing. And then you've got the third one, which, like I've said, is the only one where I think you actually have. It's not legitimate grounds. It's more like you'd go back and have a look at it. Maybe is when Dara's leg gets tangled underneath. But I think all the referees looked at is that doesn't send you down to the floor, and you've clearly played for the penalty, so you've not been given. So it's not been given.
Yeah,
the fact that he's literally leaning on these decisions. He's so embarrassing from a Man United perspective because you can't talk about any of the football that you played. You can only talk about the fact that referees haven't helped me. Referees haven't helped.
It's not only him, but there's so many United fans that's claiming corruption. And this is a thing which I said previously, but what's happening here, boys? Because he's sort of Burnley fans before, which of course in the moment to get annoyed, but Christ almighty, who's being corrupted here? Everyone. Because it feels that way, apparently.
Yeah.
Some Forest fans read that the top six cartel, United will get that penalty, blah, blah, blah. And now, apparently, it's the Premier League is also now corrupt to the top 6 too, and United and Chelsea and so on and so forth. So what is it? Again, I hate VAR because I just think that it's a imperfect system that would never be perfect, and it's more annoying that you have 3 other people with 1,000 different camera angles still getting the wrong decision. I'd rather just go back to just having a referee do his job personally. But at the same time, this victim mentality from every single fan base has to be stamped out because it's boring. And having Mark Goldbridge, which he didn't even go through his actual tweet, he ended it with total misrepresentation of the game on a public-funded platform. Disgrace. It's 9 a.m, mate. What are you on about? It's on a public-funded platform. Go have your coffee. I can't believe what I was reading. And it's like,
don't you think it's mad though? Like, he's arguing about a football program, talking about football. If you're that bothered, go on Sky Sports and look at Ref Watch. If you're that, don't watch Match of the Day. Then, if you want to watch Match of the Day, and actually, that's why people watch it. They want to talk about football. They want to talk about the fact that Burnley had a higher XG than Man United. That Burnley had better chances to win the game than Man United. That we played them off the park and they had 2 or 3 opportunities that Muric absolutely cleaned house with because he's not scared of anyone. Like, you've literally just got him sat. He's so rattled in this situation that it's so embarrassing that he literally has this little running joke that, oh, it's bloody Burnley again, all that type of stuff. We don't care about you as much as you care about us. That's more embarrassing. Like, you're Man United, get a grip. Oh, it's so funny. Like, honestly.
I do like most United fans that are reasonable.
Yeah, the majority are all right.
The majority of football fans are reasonable.
Yeah. But when you've got a platform that big and you're spouting dross like that, like that's just like you're just leaving yourself open to it. But like,
it's an echo chamber.
You
That's
don't-
the thing. Their own is kind
you
of
don't get a channel.
They're all on about all these.
You don't
things.
get a channel that big without spouting dross, though, do you? You've got to spout dross to get a channel that big. If he put content out saying,
I'm going to say
don't blame them.
I was just gonna say that's why we'll never be that big, or unless you want me to start shouting, spouting dross, Neil. Is that what I have to do? Is that what you're saying I have to do?
Just
start spouting stuff that I don't believe. Because there's no way Goldbridge believe them's gone actual things.
He's helping the career trajectory. That's all it is.
If you want another 25 sponsors for next season, mate, you need to start doing clickbait. That's all I'm going to say. So get the clickbait out there. Just little 5 seconds. 5 seconds.
Sending my analytics off to Green King, mate. I think I might have to. George A. Rodriguez says, "Please don't, Joe. Don't compromise to his level. Don't worry, mate. I won't." I always say things as it is, to be fair. Flyver Fred said AFTV got big just by slagging off their own side for a decade. Yeah, I mean, I do like both of these channels, but some of the stuff sometimes that I do see them put out, there's no way Goldbridge believes that them. Were it Anthony or Garnacho? I can't remember. Them 2 incidents yesterday were penalties. There's no way whatsoever.
It was all on Garnacho, the fouls. The Berg one, the one in the first half, I found the most incredible. That he was like, it doesn't matter if you got the ball, he's still impeding the player.
That's what he said. He impeded the player by getting the ball. That's called defending.
That's not even modern day football. Like, you got told that back in the 90s. Like, that's not different. That's just a rule that's always been. He's just like,
how dare you get the ball?
Let's just get into the VAR head and just be like, oh no, he wins the ball, but he gets the man. It's a penalty.
That's defending. That's
if
defending.
That's the thing,
I don't know.
If that's the thing, I'm done with football, mate. Because honestly, I don't know if it's my age or whatever. But when I was growing up, it was like it doesn't matter if you get the man as long as you get the ball first, and that's always been the way it is. Get the ball, and if you follow through and get the man, it doesn't matter. That's all. It's always been for me. And if that's not the case now, then I don't enjoy football.
To be fair, Neil, I think you're about the same age as Goldbridge. So you're there saying I don't know if it's my age. Like, people forget this man's actually 44, 45 years old.
Why? I'm not that
it's
age.
quite mad, actually.
Yeah, it's when you look at his tweets and you see that he's 45 years old, you just think, come on now. And to be fair, I did actually reach out to United Stand to actually get someone on the pre-game show, and we did have someone from the United Stand earlier in the year on the pre-game show. I'm not slagging the channel off. I'm not really slagging Mark off. I just think these last few comments that he put out yesterday were just utterly ridiculous. And there's no way he believes them. Goldbridge is not 44, says Duncan. I'm sure he is, mate. Google it. He's in his 40s. He's in his 40s. I promise you that, because he's older than me. George Rodriguez says he is 45, 44. That's pathetic.
He's also not called Mark Goldbridge, but there you go.
He's not. He's 45. Fuck me. He's 9 years older than me. He's 9 years older than me. He's older than Neil. Neil.
Huh?
And he's
imagine that. Imagine that.
Ancient.
Imagine that. There's someone older than me. It's madness.
Oh, yeah. Right. We should move on from slagging the biggest football channel off in there.
I guess it's game. I just want to give a massive shout out to Muric, especially in that first.
Yeah. Let's talk about the game again then. Yeah. Muric.
You can tell Liam's a pro. Bringing it back.
He knows what he's doing, does Liam? That's why he's got the biggest Burnley channel.
He's got the biggest channel associated. Love that.
I've got the screenshots ready. Sometimes I do prepare. But Muric made quite a few saves. This was one in the second half from a chance when somebody came in from the left-hand side and cut it in. A good save. Probably not the best save he made, to be fair. But this was the one that was on the highlights package that I watched 5 minutes before we went live, so I quickly screenshotted it. But yeah, Muric played well again, didn't he, Liam? I'll stick with you, mate, because you started it. And he's just... And I'm not going to slag Trafford off again, but he is the difference. Him and Cullen are the difference, aren't they? The reason why we've been so much better since March.
Absolutely. And the first half of that first half, you could say the first 20 minutes or so, it was all United. I mean, we really had to weather the storm there. It was a really sketchy 20 minutes that you were just begging that we can hold out and then kind of grow into the game. And that's exactly what happened. It was the tale of two halves in the first half, basically, because we were absolutely dominant from 25 minutes onwards. And again, we should have scored, and we had some incredible chances, Foster with the main ones falling to. And I was so proud of half time, but also so annoyed. And I didn't know how to really control my emotions because we really should have beat United at Old Trafford, and I can't get over it. But we're going to probably the chance for Foster, but Muric kept us in it at that part of the game. And the defense, I think, did a pretty good job of trying to hold them out there. Their chances was from, I believe, like tight angles going that show. I had 1 or 2 as well. And by the way, in terms of United, again, they weren't playing that well, but out of all their players, the one that was really good is Bruno. They would be absolutely screwed without him because every single thing that happened in that game that was good came from him. So, yeah, I was terrified each time he had the ball.
Yeah, no, fair assessment. I do think Bruno's a fantastic footballer. But yesterday, Sander and Cullen kept him somewhat quiet. He's still played pretty well, did Bruno. But yeah, pretty good assessment there, Liam, on that one. Sam, I'll come to you next. Thoughts on Muric and his performance yesterday? We'll leave the president of the Muric fan club till last. That is, of course, Neil, if you're new to the channel. But Sam, your thoughts on Muric's performances yesterday?
It's just a testament to how he was last year and testament to his resilience to be out of the squad all season and come back in and do what he's done. And, you know, it's almost like a small section of people have been saying for quite a long time that we need to put Muric back in, and 4 of them
small.
It's a large group, but you know what I mean? It's just like it does baffle you in the end. Like, not to talk about Trafford too much because, you know, he's still a young kid and he's done all right in some parts and not so great in others, but this is the conversation that we've had all season long about Muric. His speed of distribution, his ability to pick a pass downfield, his ability to pick a pass into midfield. You know, I don't feel as bad him playing the ball into Sander Berge or Cullen's feet because I feel like that's just so normal for him. Whereas I feel like Trafford had to learn it.
Yeah.
And I think when you've only played at a League One level and an under-21s, you know, England level, I just don't think that you are suited to playing in the Premier League without some at least championship experience because the game's so much quicker. But when it comes to Muric, like, his shot stopping ability is brilliant. His ability to win the game is the thing that I like more. So, like, you can see an opportunity forming, like the one where it comes across the box. He's moved over to the ball. For me, if that's Trafford, he's still stood at the front post thinking, how on earth has that cross got through? Like, I just think he's just brilliant in every dynamic, and it's how he suits how we play. He can get us, he can eliminate the strikers and half of the midfield with one pass, and that's how we play, to try and have an overload in numbers on the wings, get the ball into the strikers' feet, get the balls through the channels, really try and play it quick. And I think he's testament to how we play. So it's, you know, weird surprise, isn't it, that he's probably going to be another, you know, man of the match shout, you know, 6, 7 out of the 8
Is
games.
it also fair to say that he's the best pass of the ball in the entire team?
It's ridiculous, mate, how good he is. He's so
He
good.
was the best. He was the best playmaker in the Championship last year. I said that
100%. Do you remember when I was playing in midfield against Preston at home?
Yeah, honestly, he was. Yeah.
We need to highlight Lee Dane's comment in the chat because that is absolutely beautiful, by the way. It's awful in our perspective.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, Muric has got Brighton's goal of the month this month, which is hilarious and
quite sad.
Yeah, quite sad. Yeah, I wanted a better word than that, but yeah, I couldn't think of one. So thank you. But yeah, he's everywhere at the minute. I think that was you that tweeted that, Liam. I can't remember, but he's everywhere at the minute. He's pulling out worldy passes against Man United, worldy saves, but he's also making 2 cock-ups as well. So, but he was quite rusty, I feel, and he's going to be coming in and getting better. But yeah, Lee Dane, thank you for that. Someone else that played quite well, in my opinion, and I've given him some stick this year on this show, Dara Rocher. He was fantastic yesterday. Him and Maxime Esteve. And Sam's nodding along, and I'm glad with that because I did want to come to Sam first because Sam used to join me in this weekly slagging off of Dara Rocher that me and Sam used to quite enjoy and go quite hard in on him because he constantly met these mistakes, and we could see the player was there, but as Sam brilliantly put it, he'd have lift music in his head because he weren't paying attention half of the time. So he'd end up making a stupid mistake and letting himself down, letting the team down. But he was brilliant yesterday, and I genuinely believe he's got better because he's next to Maxime Esteve and he's got a better goalkeeper behind him, which is not me saying, oh, he don't really deserve the plaudits, because he does. He's been fantastic. But it shows how bad some of the other players that have been in the team around him. But Dara O'Shea, fantastic yesterday. Didn't make a mistake that I can remember, and was pretty solid throughout, weren't he, Sam?
Yeah, mate. I mean, I think, definitely the goalkeeper situation's changed. Of course. Like, do you remember back in the day when we had Joe Hart in goal and, he was making a couple of saves, but we were still conceding 4 goals a game. And then, and people kept saying, you just can't hear him. He doesn't command his defence like Tom Heaton did, and then he came back in and we played class. It'll be a similar thing. You can rest easy knowing that you don't have to worry about your goalkeeper making a mistake. All right, yeah, Muric has made, a mistake or two, but not to the degree that we'd had with Trafford. And I also think the consistency of the defence is also, Assignon. I mean, he is absolutely unbelievable. He is so good. And I feel like he's one of those players that you really hope no matter what division we're in next season, he's there. But you can just feel even from the cameo of half a season, there's going to be a suitor there at least from someone. But I think the consistency of the defence has really helped Dara in general. I feel like, I'm not, to, eat humble pie, because I still don't think Dara's been great across the entire season. I think he's in moments been one of our poorer players. I do think that now we are really seeing, the captain of West Brom, the player that had been in the side since he was 20 years old, the guy that's, been a championship regular and, and been a fantastic centre-half there and makes that jump to the Premier League. And I now feel like he's finally starting to find his feet. And I think 100% the goalkeeper and the consistency in defence is easily the reason. But fair play to him as well, because, he hadn't been unbelievable all season. And to see where he is now, it is good to see.
To add as well, I remember at the end of the game, the last 5 minutes, he made a tackle that was near the bottom left side of the pitch, and he good tackle, went out for a throw in, and he celebrated as if he just scored a goal. I just saw him, and it's get in, and I love that. I love it when I see a defender celebrate just a tackle like he scored a goal.
Yeah, and Tarky used to do that.
I feel like that's a team thing, though. I feel like the team finally realizes that we have something to play for now. You're not dead and buried. You're not 11 points adrift. This is now in our hands. So every single situation where something goes positive, we literally have to celebrate it. Before,
it's crazy how winning some games of football is it makes your mood better, doesn't it? As a squad, it's a magical thing here, boys.
It really is. And the fact that you're going into a game now and you're okay, if we win, I know it's not all in our hands. We still need Forest to be dropping points consistently and Luton dropping points consistently. But for me, this is now the first time where we can really say we now have to win our games.
Yeah, it's in our hands to a certain extent. If we win all our 3 remaining games, we will finish above Forest. Fact. Yeah. But we won't finish above Luton if they win all their 3 remaining games. Yeah. So we can finish above Forest now at the very least. In our own hands. But also,
we have to do our job now. This is the time where it's out.
Yeah. We have to beat Newcastle. I stop short of saying must win all the time, and I get some stick for it. But Newcastle is 100% categorically a must win. It is. You have to win that match.
For the last 10 weeks, it's unreal.
But I've always said, it's a must not lose. I'm now sitting here going, no. Must win. You have to beat Newcastle. Because if we get a draw against Newcastle, for example, and then Forest beat Sheffield United like they meant to, then we're going to have to go to Spurs and win. And that's just not going to happen, is it? But as Harry says in the chat, Luton are not very good at the minute. So I do constantly just look towards Forest rather than Luton. But again, we'll get into that later when I bring the league table up. Liam, I do want to quickly come to you before I go to Neil, because you were chatting then about Dara. Just wanted to add something in. You spoke quite well. Why do you think Dara's got so much better in the second half of the season than he was in the first half of the season? Do you think it's because he's playing alongside Esteve?
That can be part of it as well, but also same reasons for the vast majority of our players is simply just more experience. More experience playing in Premier League week in, week out. getting more of a relationship with the players alongside him. That includes his centre-back partner, and that includes his goalkeeper too. Having more experience is absolutely key. And we've seen that across the entire season, week by week, that we're seeing. It's still not perfect, and we still make mistakes. Christ, we saw that the other day with Berg creating the goal that they went on to go score. And we had a great performance, but yet we still made a mistake, and we really could have went on to lose that game because of it. And that's just it's a part of what happens when you probably are on the edge of having enough quality, of being in the league. We're playing football that is expansive, that is risky at many times, and it works 98% of the time, 95% of the time. But that one mistake, you get caught out, and it hurts you. And that's happened multiple times this season. So for the likes of O'Shea, I'm really happy to see that he's grown into the team, just like I have with a lot of other players too. And I just want to end off the year with some real good feelings towards the players to go into next season. Because at this rate, I'm thinking, worst case scenario, go down. I'm convinced we're going to smash 125 points, and like none of these players will even leave. Like, we're going to end off so well that these players are absolutely love it here and think, you know what, let's absolutely romp the championship and do the double over bastards again. I think I'd be down for that. I'd be down for that.
If we go down, I don't buy into this subscription that some people are saying, oh, we'll struggle next year in championship. I just don't see it. I mean, I don't see it. I'm sure we'll talk about it next year. But if this team stays, I do think some of them will leave, to be fair. But if this team stays, I think it walks the championship. Honestly, I really, really do. Neil, your thoughts on Dara? Because you were quite indifferent about him earlier in the season, weren't you? I think me and Sam were more leaning towards the absolute thing.
Yeah, I think I said that he'd been mint in the championship, but maybe not quite Premier League level. But I think he's grown into it, and I do think he'll be mint next year. Possibly become our captain next year.
That's not a bad shout, to be fair, because I presume the Corky and that'll leave.
Yeah, because he was West Brom's, like you say. But I think it does come back to having a reliable keeper behind you, a keeper who's vocal, a keeper who can play the system that company wants them to play, gives that defence more security and more stability. And he's had a regular partner as well, hasn't he? It's not like he's had someone different next to him all the time. So he's playing in a more settled side. So that back four and Muric will be training and doing stuff together, so they get to know each other really well. And I think he's probably having the benefit of that. But I think O'Shea's upturn is probably just because I think everybody's having a slight upturn in the form, aren't they?
Yeah, I think that is part of it as well. The team is
part of it. Everybody's just playing that little bit better. The team's playing better, so it's easy to look good in a team that's playing well. I still don't think he's Premier League level. I think he's playing well, but as I say, I think he'll be mint next year. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. He'll be class in the championship next year if we go down. But also, Liam, I'll start with you on this one because you did touch on it earlier. Lyle Foster. He's coming to a bit of criticism again recently from people that shouldn't really be criticising it, to be fair. I'm not saying it's deserved, but he has come into a lot of criticism recently and did miss a chance yesterday that you would 100% have put your house on him scoring. He scored a goal like this against Luton. He scored, was it 2 against Villa like this? But he should be scoring that, shouldn't he? And some people have been criticising him, not just because of the missed chance, but because of his performances recently. What are your thoughts on Lyle over the last few games, mate?
I mean, I think that performance-wise, he's been more than decent. It's been a weird one to really call because he spent some of those games as like a right winger on the right-hand side, so it's kind of hard to really judge him off that. In terms of this game, I think that he was pretty solid in terms of our game plan, which was to hit them in the break, and we did that countless times. Unfortunately, we just kind of I put it out on Twitter, but it was like the derby of how to completely cock up counterattacks in unique ways each time for both us and Man United. It was just remarkable how we could both fail to take advantage, and realistically, none of our goals really came from a break, which is remarkable in itself. Foster, of course, had the header that was saved just prior to that from a great save off Onana. No issue with that. Yeah. There was a cut back from Asinon as well to Foster. That was, I think, for Fan was just to his left-hand side. We didn't see him. He hit it first time. Just kind of floated over the bar. But then this, like, when you go to Old Trafford, you're not going to get a better opportunity than that most times. And this is just maybe a part of the realistic side that when you're at a team on the bottom end of Premier League, you're going to have players and strikers that aren't fully perfect, and sometimes they score, sometimes they don't, and that's just the reality of it. So I don't blame him for missing. However, it's the golden opportunity that we simply had to take. So it's a real shame. I think it's a good goalkeeping save off Onana too, but yeah, it still does hurt because you don't get chances like that way too often. So yeah, performance-wise, I think it was still good. On the break, it was really good. Just a final ball and final end product, which is a shame.
Yeah, for me, I think obviously he's been in and out of the side this season. He's had a physical injury and of course a mental injury. I just think he's not fully there yet, and that's why someone commented earlier. I can't remember where it's gone there. Russell Mercer, Foster always looks knackered in the second half. He says, and I think that's partly because of it, because he's always in and out of the side. And he's not getting a run of games. I think if Lyle Foster had played the whole season and didn't have like 2 months off early in the year for his mental health struggles, which obviously we all supported and still do, and then had another injury not long after he come back, he probably buries that because he's probably more focused on the match and not tired. But I think I just think he should be scoring that for a Premier League striker, and we know he's got the clock. That's the frustrating thing with him. If it was somebody like, I don't know, somebody else like Fofana, and he misses it, you're just like, oh, fair enough. He's just one of them things. He's just not good enough. But with Foster, you know he is good enough because you've seen him do it. You've seen him score these types of goals. Like I think I said it after he scored the goal against Luton. You would put your house on him scoring these one-on-ones because he always seems to score them. But that's the first one I've ever seen him miss, and I just feel like he has been a little bit poorer recently in front of goal. Obviously, he got his first goal of 2024. Against Sheffield United, but I do think these injuries and these times out of the team does have something to do with that. Sam, your thoughts on Foster, please, mate?
I do think his performance was all right. I think, his ability to spin defenders and his ability to run the channel was really good. His hold-up play is always, pretty immaculate. But some of the chances that he missed, regardless of what we think and stuff like that, some of them you can say fair. That last one, like, he gives Onana the ability to save it because he has so long to take that shot, and he waits until he's so close to him. When the angle's completely gone, you can't even put it in the bottom left corner. You can't put it in. You can't wrap it around him because he's so close. The only way that's going is like straight at Onana. And like Liam says, you don't get chances like that, not just at Old Trafford, but you don't get chances like that in the Premier League all the time. Like, you have to take your chances. And like, for me, that even the other one as well, where where he could have let it run through to Fofana. Like, even if you decide to take that shot, don't lean that far back and blaze it over the bar. Like, at least test the goalkeeper or get it on target. Give him a warning sign, like, yes, we're attacking you. Like, don't, like, that's of course he's had time out of the team, and of course he's we've already touched on the fact that we're at the bottom end of the Premier League for a reason. But yeah, you have to do better with that. You just have to. There is obviously the argument of Fofana. In my opinion, he reminds me a little bit of Andre Gray. Like, he can score when you put him in the right position. He can score, but you wouldn't say he's a good footballer. Like, you wouldn't say like, oh, I'd love him to have the ball and run 25 yards at somebody. Like, when we had that quartet of strikers for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I always said that we've had better strikers, and Andre Gray was the one that could score goals, but you wouldn't want him like receiving the ball and playing it on half turn. I feel like that's the same with Fofana. Like, Fofana doesn't actually bring a lot in the game. I don't think he links up play very, very well. I don't think he's got a great first touch. But I still like him being, I still like him being in the team. But I almost think to a certain degree, the tail end of a season, you need to go out and win games. Can we not just have Foster up front and try Benson on the right? I know we've talked about changing the team, but can we not just add attacking threat in there with a player that is genuinely frightening to play against? Like, because for me, like that, like I say with the Fofana thing, like, I don't dislike Fofana. I just don't think he suits the way we play. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't think, like, when we play through the channel and he gets that first touch, I feel he's a bit erratic. And I don't think that he he thinks like Foster. So, like, for example, when we're talking about the Foster missing situations and stuff like that, like, for me, Foster has other elements to his game where you'd say, all right, but he's still played okay. When Fofana doesn't score, you notice it a bit more. That's just my opinion, but I think Foster did all right.
Raw though, isn't he? There's a reason Fofana's on loan. He's raw. He's not the finished product. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to miss.
I agree with that. Fofana's the way he is because he's so young. And I'm surprised he's at a club like Chelsea. They obviously see something in him that I don't. I don't think he's ever going to break through into their first team for where they want to be. But yeah, he is raw and he will get better. But all the reasons. I mean, some comments in the chat saying, "Oh, you know, Fofana's shit. He don't score these sort of goals." The only reason why I'm highlighting Foster's is because he had the main chance yesterday, number one, and number two, I 100% expect Foster to score them. Fofana wouldn't have got in that position usually, and he has missed some sitters. Dale Husband says, "Agree with Sam. He's not good for our system." So yeah, I do agree with that one. Joe Shilling's moved over to YouTube after watching on Facebook. We are streaming live on Facebook, everybody, for the first time in over 2 years. He says Fofana hit the ground running when he first came. And now he doesn't really do anything nowadays other than take a spot in the starting 11. Shame for the likes of Benson missing out, though. Yeah, I agree with that. There was another comment earlier on about Benson. Where's it gone now? I did see it come in. Archie Process. He says, I don't get what Benson needs to do to get any game time. He's a superset and done bits when last played United, ran through United defence like they weren't there. I've stopped chatting about Benson just because I don't expect him to ever get inside now, if I'm honest. Company obviously doesn't see something in him that he doesn't like, so I just don't discuss it anymore. He's not. It was like when Trafford was starting and we debated it for the first 6 weeks and then we eventually just sacked it off because it was pointless. But yeah, it's just one of them things. The same with Benson as well. Before we carry on, I just want to alert everyone's attention to the bottom of the screen. You can see the names of our YouTube channel members running across. We had a new one this week. Jorge Rodriguez finally joined the channel. Thank you very much, mate. So I really do appreciate that. If you want to join the channel on YouTube, you can. There's a link in the description, a little button underneath, and it says join. Obviously, you click that and you get little perks such as if you're watching on YouTube, you notice some people have little Turfcast badges next to the name, so you'll get them. They also get early release of every show that's not live. So basically, at the minute, just a pre-game show, but they do tend to get that about a day in advance. Hopefully, more next season. And yeah, big shout out to all the YouTube channel members. They are rolling across the bottom of your screen. OJ Rodriguez says, I know, finally, but it's going to be well worth it. Yes, mate, it really, really is. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. But yeah, obviously there's one also big thing that we haven't spoken about yet, gents, and I do have a screenshot for it. And that was, Neil, I'm going to come to you first. Manchester United's goal and how they scored it. And now I'm not going to slag Sander off too much because I do still believe he's been our player of the season. He was fantastic against Sheffield United because maybe he was more up for it. I don't know. But he was so good against Sheffield United. But then, to be fair, he was good yesterday. I do feel like he was good yesterday, but that mistake stopped him from getting the man of the match, in my opinion. Just to quickly break off, Phil says, do you still do the Patreon, or would I be better doing it on YouTube? Better on YouTube now, mate. I think I've cancelled the Patreon, so you shouldn't be still a member. If you are there, let me know, mate. I'll have to go and re-cancel it. But yeah, definitely on YouTube, mate. But yeah, Neil, Sanders' mistake for the goal. We saw him do this a lot at the start of the season, didn't we? But then he's got better recently. Whereas yesterday, even though he played well, he had a mistake in him yesterday. Obviously, they scored the goal, giving it straight to Anthony, as you can see.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, isn't it? Mistakes have been story of the season. It was just his turn. But yeah, like to make light of the situation, you can probably pass the ball to Anthony and still expect nothing to happen. So he's just unlucky that he actually scored from it. So he probably didn't think there was any danger. But no, it's just one of them things, isn't it? He has been a very good player, but it's just the latest in our season of mistakes, unfortunately. But luckily, it didn't cost us too much this time, so you can sort of let him off a little bit, can't you?
Flyover Fred says he did it on purpose to stop clubs coming for him in the summer. That's
love that
8D
love
chest, mate. If that is what he did. But yeah, Sam, your thoughts on it, mate? I mean, it's one of them. I do agree with Neil. It's one of them things. I think it's more of a style thing rather than an individual thing. But he probably could have picked a better pass at that moment. And obviously, it ensured United got a goal. And they weren't really, at that moment in time, looking very dangerous, were they?
No, it did. It did come a little bit out of nothing. I think that's the disappointing thing. It could have been another mistake that led to us losing a game that we maybe shouldn't have done. So, I mean, it's one of them things, isn't it? Like, everybody can make a mistake. Sander Berge's had a fantastic season for us. I feel like when you've had a season like he's had, you can almost forgive it. I feel like that's what we had issues with at the start of the season with other players, which was like, you're not playing well and you're making these mistakes. What's the crack? Whereas, he's been a fantastic player for us, and I don't think, and I wouldn't really, I agree with you. I think it could be definitely down to a style thing. I think it is. We play it out to a centre midfielder who's dropped into centre half, and look at where his defenders are. Nobody expects him to lose the ball there. Nobody. So it's just the way we play. It is what it is. He's a fantastic player. He's been so good for us, and put it down to one of them things.
Yeah, fair enough. I do agree with that. Liam, your thoughts on it, mate? Again, I'm sure you'll share the sentiments of all of us. Just one of them things. He's made a mistake, but probably one of the better players this season, if not the best.
Yeah, I share the same thing. And to kind of add on to that, we saw a tweet by Burnley the other day of votes and nominations for the player of the season, and for the vast majority of comments that we saw in that was all people saying it's Sander Berge or Masengo. Those are the two key options I think I saw. So yeah,
Masengo for me.
Yeah, so it's one of them. Like, it is an absolute shame because he's one of our best players this year, if not the best player. But it's just a consequence of the style of play we try to adapt, basically. And I saw a comment down below, but they made a good point that at least he didn't drag him down and cause a red card, at least. So it was like he could have easily. So at least there's that, because that means he would have been gone for the next game. So there's always a positive side to it.
Yeah, true. And obviously the main positive is it didn't cost us a defeat. In the end, we managed to get back into it, but it is a bit of a shame because we did miss some chances again, and we did give a goal away again, and that is ultimately why we didn't end up winning the match.
One thing that we can mention as well. I don't know if you got it in there, but the final chance of the game, 95th minute, Odobert. Is that screenshotted? Was that in a highlight package?
It wasn't on the highlights, no.
Literally the last kick of the game, pretty much the last actual attack. Odobert on his left foot. That it was like, I can't believe that wasn't actually put in the highlights, because that was such a key chance right at the end. And it's such unfortunate because it's one of them that you've seen him 1,000 times a slip underneath the keeper's legs. That could have been something special, man. And for someone with a design company that sells prints based on goals, I'm very annoyed. So now you've ruined my day.
The only thing I'd say on that is because I also don't think there's anything wrong with going front post, but that far post was absolutely gagging for it. Like it was so open. He literally committed his whole body to that front stick. There was so much space, and there was a player coming in at the back stick as well. I'm not saying that he's made the wrong decision. I'm just saying I think he made the wrong decision.
Nice.
But yeah, it is a big chance. I don't know why that's not in there, but Onana kept them in the game as well.
100%. Onana was their best player.
The guy is rubbish. He's terrible. He's one of the worst goalkeepers I've ever seen. Why pick that Foster header to turn into a cat? What is that about? He's been rubbish all season and he pulls that off. Just ridiculous.
Thing is, I remember his performance in the Champions League final last year for Inter Milan, and didn't he made a couple of quick reflex saves in that one? I think that's his strength. I think he's good at these quick reflex saves, and that's what that Foster header was. But yeah, other than that, he's far too erratic.
We should have been shooting that boxing, shouldn't we? We should have just been shotting at him all day.
All day, mate. All day.
Something about goalkeepers being absolute head cases, isn't there? I think, majority of goalkeepers, no.
It's like a 2020 plus onwards thing, isn't it? Like, back in day, keepers were all reserved. Like Tom Eaton, he used to get home for 8 p.m. and have Eaton on and curtains drawn. But now, Having Onana is a nut job.
Yeah, he's mad.
They're all mental. I suppose you've got to be, though, if your job's to take pelters all day, innit? I suppose you've got to have something wrong with you.
Yeah, fair enough. Don't disagree with that. Right, man of the match shouts then. Everybody get your comments in. Please let me know your man of the match now in the comments. And after I've asked all of the lads, I will put every single comment on the screen to let people know who you thought was the man of the match. I'll start. I've mentioned him already. And I do think I've been a bit critical on him this year. But he was fantastic yesterday. Dara O'Shea, I thought he played very, very, very well yesterday. And he has been poor, as I've said, this season and cost us numerous times this season if it's not for silly red cards or silly mistakes or he's not paying attention. Yesterday showed me the player that he can be. And that's in the Premier League against Manchester United at Old Trafford. So if he stays next year, which I think he does, I don't think he's one of the players that's going to be attracting too much attention from Premier League clubs, then he will be an absolute wall in the Championship. And I do think a defence of Esteve and O'Shea will be very, very tough to break down in the Championship. So my vote, the first vote, is Dara O'Shea. We'll do it in screen order. Sam, who's your man of the match, please?
I'd personally go for Cullen. I don't think he put a foot wrong. I think he was solid as usual. Really held down that midfield for us. Yeah, Bruno was probably their best player, but he's probably the best player against anybody outside the top six. So I think he was brilliant again. And again, it's another one of them things, isn't it? Testament to his character. He was in the team, got dropped, couldn't find his way back into the team. He's come back in, and then people get to say, I told you so. So yeah, I think he was brilliant.
Yep, fair enough. So one for O'Shea, one for Cullen. Neil, who are you going for, mate?
I'm going to go for Muric, I'm always going to go for Muric.
The president of the fan club. Here he is.
But it could be Sander, it could be Cullen, it could be O'Shea, or it could be Muric. But I'm going to go Muric because I feel obliged to go Muric. So there you go.
Fair enough, to be fair. A lot of the comments in the chat are for Muric. Liam, your vote, please, mate.
It comes down to me to pick the winner of the illustrious
you can pick a random person if you want, so there's no award.
Oh, God damn it. Part of me wants to say O'Shea because I feel like he's kind of proven people wrong, and I think that deserves a lot of credit. But at the same time, I'm also co-owner of the Muric fan club. So up the Muric. I'm going for Muric this one. So it's 2-1.
Fair enough. Muric is the official Turfcast podcast full-time show, man of the match for what feels like the 8th game in a row. But he has deserved it, to be fair.
There's a reason, isn't it?
I should create something like that, shouldn't I? I should actually be a bit better on the production value. Tell you what, I'll buy myself a stream deck, create loads of man of the match graphics ready, and then eventually do it. I did have a stream deck, but I never used it, so I sold it. But anyway, thank you for getting your comments in. Duncan Fisher says O'Shea. Dale Husband says Muric. Clara Al says Muric. Flyover Fred says, how have we not discussed the Zeki penalty? We did. It must have been for a bit when you turned off, mate. It was in passing, to be fair, but we did quickly discuss it. Russell Mercer says Cullen. Adrian Brown says Muric. Andy Benny says Cullen. Christopher says Cullen. Excuse me. Reece James says O'Shea for me. Massive game for him. Could have easily gone to Muric, though. Muric says Ginger Ali. M. Mac says Muric. The AOI Dragon says Muric. The Lord Third Hockage says Muric. David Gill says Muric. Andy says Muric. Lee Muric. Sui O'Shea. Always Clara Andrew. Thank you for your fan reaction yesterday, mate. He says Dara and Esteve. Hard to pick between the two, although Muric has to get a shout. Phil Wilcox says, Cullen, fabulous again. Can't believe he played so long without him. That's the main frustration for me from this season because we were all calling for it from October. Harry says, Steve. Flyover Fred says, Vitinho still proving to be an absolute steal at €1 million. He played all right yesterday. I do prefer him further up the field, but he did play all right yesterday. Johan the Great says, man of the match for me is Amdouni, the composure on the pen with the big boy Man United fans in his eye. Surprised he didn't get distracted. AOR Dragon says Cullen did pick up a yellow card. It is one of them that he does. He gets a yellow card every game. Russell Mercer says, I'm off to watch a new busy upload. Cheers, lads. Could have waited till the full-time show had finished, Russell. But no, if there's one channel I support, it is Liam's. Ginger Ali says, Muric has brought calmness to the defence. Zeke. James says Zeke. If you need some graphics, as always, Clara, I do keep telling you, mate. We'll probably use you next season. Yeah, again, I'll be in touch. GST says, man of the match, Layfield for actually turning up today.
Yes,
Love that.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Neil and Sam, man of the matches.
Sam's missed as many as me. So
yeah, but
look at this gas beef. Go on, lads. Have it out.
Right. Start putting it in the chat now. Layfield out.
With the Muric slump, I just wanted to add in like a bit of statistics here, you may say. SofaScore, quite a well-known app for stats and so on and so forth. They've got like a goals prevented stats that basically takes the XG that is predicted to be the goal and match up to how many goals he actually do concede. So in terms of goals prevented, Muric has only played 7 games this season and he's put the ball back of his own net for 2 of them, which is unfortunate. And in terms of all the keepers in the league, he's currently 3rd with 4.83 in terms of goals prevented. Only keepers that higher than him is Jose Sarr of Wolves and Emiliano Martinez. If you were curious of where James Trafford is on that, he is all the way down to 4th last with minus 7.47. And typically, the more games you play, the better your score would be. So the fact he's only got 7 games and he's already 3rd ahead of Onana, Pope, Areola, whoever else is, again, it really makes you think, where would we be if he just started from day one?
Mm-hmm.
Christ almighty. That's all I've got to say.
Every single one of us sat here on the show and said the same thing. And honestly, we were getting stick for giving Trafford too much stick. But we were right. Trafford wasn't good enough. It was obviously wasn't good enough. He still isn't good enough for the Premier League. And Muric has come in and proven that he just fits us. He's just a better keeper.
Be right, mate. That's why I've returned.
Turfcast should be in the management team, or at least giving them advice. And do you remember Company coming out saying that one day I would prove right as well, and then 2 weeks later just dropping him?
I think it was 2 days later. I think it was actually the following game was when he dropped him.
I think it was
like, oh, watch Trafford will be unbelievable, and then like the next day he's like, nah, I don't need him.
I'm sure Trafford will be. I'm sure he's a good keeper, good shot stopper. However, I just think that he just didn't manage him well enough for me. Like you saw at Brighton with Verbruggen and I think Steele was the keeper at Brighton. He wasn't just throwing it away. It was like managed, like 50-50, and also like giving chances and like not be. You suppose manage young players, and especially if they're a keeper as well. So I just felt like he was just more damaging to him in the end, and that's why we feel the way that we feel. And it's not really his fault because I don't think he's actually that bad of a keeper. It's just we've got another keeper that is just we've seen that is better and wasn't given a chance. So it's just
he's just more suited to us. That's what it is. Like we just like so many of the players that we've brought in this season, like some of them have been all right, some of them have been good, some of them don't suit the system and don't have a place in the team. And Trafford doesn't have a place in this team. He didn't have a place in the team 10 games into the season, and it took us 28 games to realise that we really shouldn't be playing him. So
what is it? Ever since he was made 1 loss in last 8 since he started.
And then you kind of sit there and think, oh, I wonder why.
I wonder why indeed. Right, there's a few people in the chat saying, great show, guys. We're not going just yet, so don't you worry about that. We will be going soon, though. But one thing that we do like to do here at Turfcast, especially when the league table isn't that depressing, is bring the league table in and have a look and discuss if we feel we can do what we want to do. So there it is on your screen now. Bottom of the table, Sheffield United, gone. Forget about them. Up next, Burnley, 19th on 24 points with a minus 32 goal difference. So that's essentially an extra point to the opposite teams than it is us. Luton, 1 point more than us. On minus 29. So we could finish above them on goal difference, to be fair. But they're not the one I'm looking at. The one I'm looking at is Forest. Their goal difference is 12 better than ours, which means if we go into the final game of the season 3 points behind them, we need to beat them 6-0 Potentially 7-0. It'll be 7-0, won't it? It'll be 6-0 because it goes on goal scores after that, I believe. And then Brentford, Everton, rest of them, they're out of it. So it's just 2 of Burnley, Luton, and Forest. We are 2 points behind Forest. We have to play Forest on the final day. We can do this. I am starting to feel like we can do this. There's only 1 defeat in 8. If you look at the 3 of us down there, look at our form. There's only 1 defeat in the last 5. And that was in that no-show against Everton. Luton have lost 4 of their last 5. They're dreadful at the minute. A decent result against Bournemouth, admittedly, because they're on fire at the minute. But other than that, dreadful. Forest, 3 defeats in the last 5 and only the 1 win. We are the form team down there, but Forest did look good today against what they call Man City. So that did worry me a little bit. I do feel like Forest get that win against Sheffield United, but I'm kind of hoping that Sheffield United's freedom, the fact that they can now play with freedom, now they are relegated, means that they might be able to beat Forest. I think we have to beat Newcastle. Newcastle, as I've said earlier, is a must win. It really, really is. We have to go in to win it. I'll go in screen order again. Sam, your thoughts on it. Do you think we can get out of it? Do you think it's doable?
I do. I think...
There's a book coming on.
No, there's a lot of variables that have to go our way in order for it to happen.
Yeah.
Like, it's not... of course, it's not all in our hands, but we have to affect the next 3 games that we've got. We cannot sit there and get turned over by Spurs and Newcastle because like you say, Forest will win a game up until the end of the season. I'm sure they will. Luton will pick up some points somewhere.
Yeah, Luton have got a decent run of fixtures.
They're not out of it. We a lot of people will probably be having conversations saying it's between Burnley and Forest. The Luton could literally knock us straight.
Luton have Everton at home, West Ham away, Fulham at home. That's 2 very winnable home games.
3 winnable games as well. Like we now literally. I mean, it is a long shot. Like it really is a long shot. But we've done what we did a few years ago. We've put ourselves in a position to make it happen, and it's down to us. Like, yes, there was a better run in that at that point. We had like Watford, Villa, when Villa weren't like they were good, but they weren't amazing. Like we managed to pick up a point there. Like we're now in a position where we've got Newcastle at home, have to get a point.
We have to win. I think we have to win.
I think that Spurs team today, like they're playing Arsenal, who are a top 2 team, but. And I also think Spurs have been an unbelievable team as well. So there's no way, shape or form me saying that like we're going to go into that game and affect it in the way that I want us to. But Spurs played us when we were rubbish. Who's to say that we go into that Spurs game and we're a totally different team to play against? Who's to say we're not expansive?
We were quite good.
Harry agrees with you.
Like we can go to Spurs and do something. This is a new Burnley team, I feel. Anyway, I feel like we've got a new lease of life. Consistent starting 11. We understand the game plan. We just need to cut out the mistakes. But I really do think it comes of these next 3 games. We have to affect all of them, and I still think it'll go down to that final game of the season. But I've kind of come round to the fact that if we stay up, amazing. I think we'll have a different transfer policy. I think we'll bring in the right players. I think we'll be in a better position, and I think we'd be a more comfortable team because we've gone through this season and realised what not to do. So I think we'll go the other way. I think then if we do drop into the Championship, we've got the best equipped squad to get back into the Premier League.
Yeah, I agree with all of that.
Finances on top of that as well. So I've kind of come round to the fact that if it happens, amazing. If it doesn't, it is what it is. But I still think that we can do it.
Yeah. Some people are saying the same as you there, Sam. Watching the games, I think we have more of a chance of 3 points against Spurs and Newcastle. Newcastle are poor this season. For Newcastle standards, they're obviously miles better than us, man for man. But I do feel like we can beat Newcastle at home. And I feel like if we're going into that Spurs game needing to win both of the last 2 games, that's just going to be too much pressure for this young side to handle. Whereas I do feel like we can get something, hopefully, against Newcastle, because they've been hit and miss. And as somebody said earlier, they've already lost 10 away games this season, or 10 games this season, I think it was. I don't know the exact stat. Liam, your thoughts looking at that league table? I know you do regularly message the group saying you're panicking and heart attacks and you feel sick and stuff like that. How do you feel looking at that? Do you feel like we can get out of it or not?
I mean, the fact that we are only 2 points behind is a miracle in itself. from where we were at, not too long ago. So the fact we are speaking like this with only 3 games left is a miracle. And the points deductions is part of that. But we've earned our right to be back in this conversation, 1 loss in the last 8 games. I think that we have to beat Newcastle, though, for me. I think it's simply...
I agree,
For me, it's not even for me. Apologies for the noise outside. For me, it's not even about Nottingham. I'm worried about it for the next game because Sheffield United and Nottingham, they've got a little bit of a mini rivalry. And there is also a factor that when teams are officially automatically down, they kind of do play with a bit of freedom, that the weight is off their shoulders. I have less frustration and kind of concern for that. Really, it's Everton v Luton because as we saw for many years, once Burnley was officially safe under Sean Dyche, we was awful for the rest of that season. We were awful. So, we've seen it firsthand under Sean Dyche teams. We always ended the year really poorly once we were already stayed up. So, I think Luton could get something against Everton at home there. And
I think they've already beaten them twice this season, haven't they?
Yeah, they have in the FA Cup and also in League, both away from home. So, look, I can't see a world where both Forest or Luton drop points next match week. So we simply have to win to really put the pressure on. Because if it comes down to having to win away at Tottenham Hotspur, I think that's just too much of a big ask. And the main issue is we have to be less than 3 points between us and Forest in that final day. We have to be. 3 points ain't
100%.
enough. That goal difference
ain't beat them 6-0.
But that goal difference ain't swinging, so we have to be 2 points. So we have to make up the ground. Forest to have Chelsea at home, we all know what Chelsea are like. And if Forest plays like they did today against them, they'll beat them. So we simply have to get 3 points just to keep the pressure on and to hope that something goes our way. So that's the only way I see it here. If we get a draw, it'd be a valiant effort, one loss in the last 9, but I just don't think it'd be enough, and it could be a factor of too little too late. So again, that's why I don't want to get my hopes up too much, because I'm happy that we're even here in the first place. I'm happy that we're going to end the year with some hope and some momentum, but we have to win. And that's the simplest thing for me.
Yeah. It's interesting to say the least. Neil, I'll come to you last. How do you feel looking at that league table and all the permutations associated with it, and all the fixtures that all 3 teams have got?
We can do it, but I don't think we will. There's just too much that's got to go right, and too much of that that's got to go right is out of our hands. That's all it is. And I think it'll just be what we've said a couple of weeks ago, is that we found form, but we'll just simply run out of games. That's all it is. But it's more encouraging into the season than what I thought it was going to be.
I agree with that.
Going down with some fight and going down like we look like we're actually able to compete at this level, which isn't too bad. So yes, it is possible, and it'd be good. But I can't see it myself, lads. There's too much that's got to go in our favour.
Yeah, fair enough. There's a lot.
We'll see what happens with Forest as well, though. We'll see what happens with
exactly, because I was just going to mention that. Andy here says also, don't forget Forest have their appeal on Wednesday before our game. I'll be very shocked if they get more points taken off them. I'll be very shocked if they get any points given back to them. I just can't see it. There'd be something in the press by now, surely. I just think it's going to be the same. I just think it'll be a case of you failed your appeal, it's still -4, whatever it was. I can't. If they got points back, that pretty much screws us there and then. We'd need to win 2 and draw 1 out of the next few games.
Is like Everton got. What did they get? Did they get a 6-point deduction to start with?
No, it was -10 to start with, and then they got 4 back.
It was -10, but didn't they get
4 back?
Oh, did they get 4 back?
Yeah, then they got another 2 later on. I think it was.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say though. Fair enough. Yeah, they ended up with 2 points better off, but they saw something, gave them some back, gave them more. It would be so weird if Forest, it's a 4-point deduction, end up getting 2 back just before the end of the season. It would just make no sense. They literally came out and admitted to doing it.
Yeah, and then they went and appealed. Yeah.
How can you come out, admit doing it, then reappeal, and then get given 2 points back? It just doesn't make sense.
I don't think you can extend them 4, though. I think there has to be something that happens, some deduction or some addition. I don't think you could just say, you know what, turns out nothing happens. I think it has to be some difference. I don't know.
Their appeal
I
comes
don't
from
know. No, it's unprecedented, isn't it? Like we don't know the territory that we're in. There's nothing to say yes. There's nothing to say no.
Surely their appeal comes from them. Like they've been given the opportunity to appeal. So if they appeal, there is, for me, there would only be like two things that could happen. It would either be that they get the further points deduction. In fact, sorry, three things. They get the further points deduction, they get points back, or it stays as it is. Because that's the same like in actual court, isn't it? Like you can appeal your decision, but it doesn't mean it's going to get overturned. Like, so I do feel like they could just say like, oh yeah, you have the right to appeal. We've appealed. No, sorry, it's still 4 points. Like,
yeah,
I still think that's a possibility.
It would be really shit if it comes to Wednesday and it's actually they've just got given 2 points. I don't know.
If they give them 2 points back, we screw. 1 point, I'm not asked about because it's kind of the same. 2 points means we have to win 2 and draw 1 of the next of our remaining games, and that ain't going to happen. And to still again try and beat
so
with 2 points.
If it actually goes down like that, they get 2 points removed. Oh, I hate this.
But as Sui says, the appeal means they can lose more points, so it is a risk for them. Surely, if that is the case, they won't have appealed.
Or if they lose more points, that'd just be unbelievable. Could you imagine them like we get to the game like before our game and we'll level on points with that?
Mate, I'll be straight down dash. If I got a notification on my phone saying Forest lose 2 more points, no matter what I'm doing, I'm going to the dash. I'm having a pint to celebrate. I'm getting on it. But be interesting. Peter Drury said on today's game. Peter Drury said on today's game that we find out this week. So fingers crossed, it's good news. We will start wrapping it up in a second, though. But just to remind you all, Uphold have now launched a limited edition Burnley Uphold card, giving fans to show their support home and away. The card is free and comes with a host of benefits, including the ability to spend in any currency anywhere in the world where MasterCard is accepted with no foreign transaction fees, competitive exchange rates, and easy integration with Google or Apple Pay. Get your card today at www.uphold.com/BurnleyFC, but that's not all. When fans use their card for the first time, Uphold will donate £5 to Burnley in the community, supporting the Burnley family both on and off the pitch. Numbers are limited, so again, visit www.uphold.com/BurnleyFC and get your card today. Terms and conditions apply. On the topic of Burnley FC in the community, a big shout out to JJ Watt for donating £50,000 to Burnley FC in the community from the sale of his hats. Big shout out to JJ. I would say fan of the channel because he follows us. But I've reached out a couple of times for him to come on the show, but he hasn't yet. So you are an associate of the channel now, JJ, not a fan. But I think he follows all the big Burnley creators, including Liam. So big shout out to JJ for doing that, though. And also a big shout out to Greater Manchester Police and Burnley Football Club for dealing with the dickhead yesterday at Man United who was doing the tragedy chanting and the Munich stuff. It was just the one fan, as I was arguing. There's some moron Forest fan on Twitter late last night, and I checked out his profile. I realised I was 18 years old and just stopped. I'm like, what am I doing? But it was just the one fan, and he was swiftly arrested even before full time. And Burnley put a tweet out and have since put another tweet out to say we completely agree with this and him being arrested. So shout out to the club for that. Shout out to JJ. Big love to JJ for doing what he does and supporting Burnley Football Club. But lads, I do want to get one final prediction off you before we end the show. But before I do that, is there anything that I've missed that any of you want to add into the debate before we go?
I don't think so. I think we've covered all 4 corners of the pitch, stands, everything.
Classic from Turfcast, that though, isn't it? Classic. We will always discuss everything, especially when it's a full house and all the main boys are here.
We don't miss a trick, do we? We don't miss
every blade of grass on the pitch has been covered.
Yeah, we've seen it all.
Every blade of grass on his screen's been covered.
It really has. It really has. Right then, just a yes or no. Let's see if any of you can actually stick by this. A yes or no. I tell you what, yes.
Don't do this.
Harry, I do want to discuss this. Thoughts on Bayer leaving. Now, I haven't managed to tweet it or anything like that, so apologies if the main news source on Burnley FC's fan account hasn't covered it yet. But there is, I've got like a blur on my fucking camera so you can't see it. And apologies for swearing at the very last second. That's demonetized everything. But according to the guy that brought the news that Jordan Bayer was coming to Burnley, who is called Florian Plettenberg, I've probably butchered that. He says, Jordan Bayer, in case Burnley gets relegated, a move could be possible. The 23-year-old centre-back is currently recovering from an injury in his knee, but will soon be fit again. Bayer has inquiries from the Premier League and the Bundesliga. Price valuation around 15 million euros. So thoughts on that then, gents? We'll go in screen order very quickly. Sam, your thoughts on Bayer leaving, if he leaves?
Disappointing, but we've found his replacement in January rather than having to buy a replacement next season in Esteve. So yeah. I think it's not great because I do like the fact that he's a ball playing centre half and stuff like that, but he just hasn't featured at all this year. And
yeah, he's made a glass in it.
And when he did, we were also losing games. So I think it's one of those situations where you turn around and it's like an I'm doing anything. Like, yep, I'm doing. He's been in this season. He's been in and out of the team, and yeah, he's scored goals and stuff like that. If he ends up leaving, it is what it is. Like, we'll bring in a replacement. We've got players that are out on loan that can come back in for him. We've got like Luke McNally, who, could feature. We've got Al Dakil, who's not featured since the start of the season. We've got Ekdal. We've, Esteve, O'Shea. I think we're fine at centre half. So disappointing because I did think he would be a pivotal part of this Burnley team for a while, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I agree. I'll be disappointed to see him leave. I'd rather him stay than leave. But if he wants to leave and there's a clause in his contract or whatever for him to leave because him or his agent put it there, then fine, leave. I'd rather him stay. I think he's already proven himself at championship level. He was our best defender last year. Well, our bellies were class as well, but I feel like Bayer was better. And he carried the ball out as well. He was a brilliant ball-playing centre-half, as you said, Sam. So I will genuinely be disappointed to see him leave. I like him. He's a good defender. But I do agree with the point that we have Esteve, we have O'Shea, we have McNally. We are well covered at centre-half. If there's going to be a player that I'd lose, it'd be a centre-half player, a centre-back, because I do feel like we're better equipped to losing somebody like that. But I'd take a decent fee for him. I don't think 15 million euros would be enough because that's 12 million quid. I don't know what we bought him for, but it's going to have to be more than that if he is going to leave. So, yeah, want him to stay, but if he leaves, I guess that's the best position that we're covered in if he does leave. Neil, your thoughts on it, please, mate?
Not really arse, mate. He's barely played, has he? So, and like you say, we've got plenty of cover. So, yeah, if we're going to lose anybody, might as well start with someone who's not played.
Neil, your thoughts? Not asked. Fair enough. Thank you for that.
Well, there's other players. There's other players who you'd panic. Well, not panic, but you'd be more annoyed about leaving. So it might as well be someone who, as you said, we've got cover for and who was barely played anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. I will ask Liam next. Liam.
There's nobody else to ask, mate.
I were going to say something else. And then I forgot I hadn't asked Liam yet. So, Liam, your thoughts on the Bayer rumours, please, mate.
I can't really say not asked again, though, can I? I can't really do that.
That's a Neil thing.
Out of all positions, out of all positions, centre back is a position that you can stomach having a player, or maybe even two, leave in the summer, no matter which division that we're in. And according to what I could find on here, because of Sky Sports, we bought him in for 13 million euros, so basically 50 million euros. So 13 million pounds, so 50 million euros, pretty much. So there may be a situation with some players that you just may need to take a bit of, sell some to bring some income in if we do go down. Bayer could just be one of them that will sadly have to go. And we are in a good position that we probably won't feel too much of an issue. I still think he's a great player. And I think that when he was playing for us in the November, December time period, I felt like he was pretty good. But because of O'Shea and how he's doing, and we've still got so many other players as well. Ekdal's still behind. I don't think, Ekdal in the championship would be really good as he was last year. Yeah. I still think people like Delcroix, him in the championship would be really good. So we've got so many other options. I mean, we've still got Al Dakil still here, by the way. I don't know where he's at right now.
He was good in the championship last year. He was shite this year at the start of the year, but he was good in the championship last year. So
we've got like 6 centre backs, 7 maybe, including McNally, that you probably say probably be pretty good in championship. So if he has to go, then that's the case. Then fair enough. I won't really have too much issue with that. So yeah, but if he stay up, we'll see what happens, because I don't even know if it's a case of he's too injury prone, because I don't know if he was just rushed in a bit. I don't know what the story is with him, but it's a real shame. Maybe it's just really just unfortunate. But yeah, that's my thoughts. If we go down, just maybe one of them.
Yep, fair enough.
There's
a few more comments. Sorry, who am I going to ask now? I'm just going to read a couple of comments out like I was going to say earlier. M. Mike says, thoughts on releasing Weghorst? I don't think anybody in this panel could give a flying shit, mate. Nobody wants him here. Thoughts on Company leaving for a Brighton, does Ginger Ale? Again, it's not happening. Not happening. Alan Pace debunked it. And I'll be honest, I'm not going to go into that too much because it was like over a week ago now. But I was disappointed with Sasha. Sasha, not necessarily the quote, the thing that he put out about Company leaving, but when Matt Scrafton not responded to his tweet, but put his own tweet out saying, "I've done some digging. There's no truth in the rumours." What's he called? The Belgian journalist guy then responded to Matt's tweet, just putting "lol." It's like, what are you, fucking 16? Are you supposed to be a respected journalist?
Sasha actually DM'd me actually. So directly after I saw it and I said, haha, nice one. And then he immediately within a minute DM'd me basically saying, sorry, bro, I'm just doing my job. But this was too much information to not put out. And I said,
I mean, I get that. That's fine. But then why respond to Matt's tweet just putting lol? It's pathetic.
What did he say back to Pace as well? Because Pace could have said,
yeah, with Pace, he just said, looks like I hit a nerve with that. Which I don't really mind that. But it was just the lol putting back to the Burnley Express journalist. Like, don't try and belittle another journalist, mate. You're being a bit of a dickhead here.
Honestly, it's just one of them things when it's like, don't be like our media. Like, that's why we liked you, was because you just came out and just did things like a stand-up world. Don't start being like our media, doing it for clicks and doing it to put something out there that's not there.
Yeah. Don't be another Goldbridge.
Yeah, don't be a Goldbridge.
We've gone full circle back to slagging off Goldbridge. Right then, if you have joined the stream, we'll start wrapping it up then, lads. Neil needs to go. We all need to go, to fair. These streams are getting longer, lads, so I do apologise. It's normally meant to be an hour. It's always around an hour and a half.
Well, when you're fucking staying up, boys, you can stay as long as you need to.
Honestly,
season starts now.
The stream after we stay up, we'll do a 6-hour stream. 6 hours just chatting, everyone putting the link out there. Everyone can come in. Evening from Greece, says Glyn. Unfortunately, Greece and Glyn. We're about to leave now.
The entire country.
Unfortunately, the entire country. And John says, evening, chaps, as well. Lads, we're going. But that brings me nicely to say, if you are like John or Glyn and you have just joined the stream, don't worry. When I end the stream, you can watch it back from the start at your leisure, on demand, whenever you want. Ginger Ali says, thanks for the entertainment, guys. Thank you, mate. It's always a pleasure having you in the chat. And if you want to just think, well, sod it, I'll listen to it on the way to work tomorrow. It's quite late now, so I want to go to bed and listen to it tomorrow. The podcast will be out pretty much straight away. I'll put the podcast out pretty much straight away. So if you have just watched, you can watch the show again on YouTube or listen to the podcast tomorrow in the morning. But Liam, Sam, Neil, thank you for joining me again. It's been a pleasure to have you all back. I love a Turfcast full house. So much better when there's a Turfcast full house. But I do appreciate you coming on. So thank you for coming on. If you've been late to the stream, as I've said, you can watch back or listen back at your leisure. But thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. And I will see you next